And what kind of party are you guys planning to have the whole NWSL coming to you?
Oh, yeah. Just wait. Just wait. We're so excited.
Today, I am so excited to be welcoming former U.S. Women's National Team defender, a mainstay of American professional women's soccer, player turned entrepreneur, turned NWSL co-founder and owner. It's Leslie Osborne. Leslie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that nice intro.
This episode of Friendlies is brought to you by Verizon, a proud supporter of the global game and the players who inspire us on and off the pitch. As an official sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 2026, Verizon is honored to help share the stories of the world's top players, including the incredible women who are changing the game at every level. Stay tuned for more on how Verizon can get you connected to the game we love. I am so excited to have you here. Welcome to the show. I want to talk about everything from your time as a player to your reinvention as an NWSL co-founder with Bay FC. But first, I want to say how much fun it looks like you've been having traveling around the country with your 3 daughters this summer. What have you all been up to?
They're super fun. I feel like travel days with my 3 girls are like game days. And I like thrive off that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to get my workout in and then it's fun. You know, when I started having kids, I wanted them to like come along the ride with me and my husband, Ricky. And being former athletes, like we're used to, having to be adaptable and flexible. And, we love traveling. That's all I did. And I didn't really want that to stop. So it's really fun. They come with us everywhere. We had a lot of mommy and daughter trips. We ended the summer with one. We went to North Carolina, the TST tournament, which was so fun. Hung out at Hayo's house all week and had, Krieger's kids, all of our kids together. And it was just like a really special week. And then we went to MLS All-Star in Austin, and that was exciting. It was proof that my girls aren't as into men's soccer as they are women's soccer.
Who is?
Especially when Messi didn't show up, they were like,
whatever.
Yeah. And then they played in their first San Diego Surf Cup, which is wild. My girls are 7 and 8. And they're playing in Surf Cup already. I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's wild, but it was so fun for the families and parents. I'm like, sure, we'll go to San Diego and have a tournament.
Oh my gosh. I remember Surf Cup fondly.
Oh my gosh. It was like, it's like times 4 of what it used to be. Like there are literally multiple weekends of it's crazy. So it was fun to watch them and be down in San Diego. And then my husband and I went to the Hamptons for a little mommy and daddy trip. And then we ended the summer. I took them back to Wisconsin where I grew up. I just was with my family for a week. And then we ended up in Chicago for the weekend, watch Bay play the Stars. Got to see Alyssa and Sam Staub and hang out in the city for a night and get that city bug life. And then we flew back here and now the girls are in school and we're on day 2 till 11:50 departure. So I've got a little bit of time now to get my life back together.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you're so busy and you actually brought me through so many things that I want to touch on, starting with your being from Wisconsin. And I also think like you now starting to take your daughters through playing club soccer and like doing all the things that we used to do. I know that when you were 10 yourself, Leslie, you decided that you wanted to start like focusing on one sport. And I know there's a story here. I'm curious if you can walk us through that time in your life. What other sports were you playing and how did you yourself land on soccer?
So I started playing soccer late now because 10 years old, people are like 10. But I only started playing because my older sister started playing. So I started at 10 and I fell in love with the game. And I was just fortunate to play with my older sister, kind of like how when you and Christy got to play with each other and compete and like all of that competitiveness. I was playing with girls and boys like 3 years older than me. So that I think was a big piece to like my developmental and the phase I had. But I played other sports. I was into basketball and tennis and track and field and cross country and swimming. Like I played everything. But at age 13, 14, my parents were like starting to get a little like whiplash of going from here to there. And my parents worked both full time and it was just starting to get crazy. And so they put all the sports I was playing in a hat. And my parents were like, okay, whatever you pick just means we're going to focus on that sport. So it wasn't like I had to stop everything else, but that would be like my main sport. So I ended up picking soccer. And the joke to this day is my parents were like, you were really good at tennis at that age, really good at tennis too. But I picked soccer and that became the sport where if we ever had a conflict, soccer was my choice. And I think I understand like why my parents did that. Like my girls all play 8, 7, and 5. My 7 and 8-year-olds are playing comp soccer. It is wild, Sam. They've played more soccer than I had played because I hadn't even touched a ball yet at their age. There's so much more opportunities for them to play. And, you know, I grew up in Wisconsin. I had one club team and everybody from the state drove there. Here we have 4 competitive club teams within like 15 miles.
Oh my gosh.
It's a completely different landscape.
So you didn't actually choose it out of your heart. You literally chose it from a hat. And so it was just by chance. And then I guess my other question is, with your own kids now, or even to other parents going through, well, I really want my kid to be professional or to get a college scholarship, what advice would you give on making that decision to focus on or prioritize just one sport? Like, how important are other sports?
Yeah, I think the beauty of my parents was my parents had no idea about soccer. They had no idea the ladder that I had to climb to get to where I was at. Like people ask me, like, did I dream of playing on the US women's national team? And maybe similar to you, like I didn't really know it was possible and I had no idea how to get there. And so my parents saw me fall in love with this sport and my parents just supported me. They followed my lead. And I will always forever remember that. And I try to do that with our girls. With my husband playing pro soccer too, of course we know that stepping like ladder to take to get to college and play professionally. But we want our kids to be the drivers and the leaders in this. And honestly, like it's not that difficult for Ricky and I because I think we both had a similar upbringing and experience to just loving the game and our parents following that love and passion. And I don't care if my girls play soccer. I just want my kids to find a passion like I found soccer. And I want them to find something that they work incredibly hard at and that they love to do. And to watch them already play so many sports, but like to see their love for soccer at this age, I mean, it's truly like amazing. That's all you really want for your kids. But I also know that they're 7 and 8 years old. What are they going to be like when they're age 15 and 16? I mean, they can't continue to play this level and the amount that they're playing without something happening. So we just make sure that we're plugging in, like we're going to the park today after school and we're going swimming today and we're not touching a ball and you know, just keeping it in check. I mean, they're so young and, you know, we've seen players burn out. We've seen players be stressed out. I've seen players come to Santa Clara University and have anxiety and they don't even know if they want to play the game anymore. And so I think having the experiences and that Ricky and I have had, we just try to have that mindset and understanding and watching our girls just enjoy something.
That's so smart and such good advice. When you watch your girls play, do you see yourself in them? Like, do they have any qualities that you remember you had as a player?
Yes. Both Ricky and I, we watch them and we're like, oh my God. Like Gabby has a lot of me, but I think Gabby also has a lot of Ricky. And so her intensity level and competitiveness, Sam, is like through the roof. He cannot do anything without it being 120% all the time to the point where you're like, relax, Gabby. Like she can't. If they're playing 1v1, and I remember you and Christy like playing 1v1 in the backyard and all the memories your parents have, Sam, Olivia and Gabby are doing that every single day. And they want to go, no, we played a 5. No, we want to play a 10, mommy. No, next goal wins. No, it is so fun, but to see their competitiveness, to see their willingness, to see them, oh, mommy, no, I need to get better at this. And I remember when I was younger, like being fixated on like, no, I'm going to get really good at my left foot. I'm going to stand against the wall, mom, or the garage and hit balls back and forth until I can get it right. And then Izzy, my youngest, like she is a little baller, but she's just this like, she's always smiling. You know, you have those teammates that are like always having a great time and like smiling and just like, this isn't like, just she's like, oh, all of it. It's like, I think it's so cool just to watch them and see them love to play sports. Oh. I mean, all they want to do is play sports and go to the park and run and be active. And like, that is, I think, just like an incredible feeling to have.
It's so cool to hear you talk about it because it really does sound like you and Ricky's passion for soccer and sports has been passed down to your kids. And what a better thing to pass down than like the love of something that's brought so much joy and connection into your lives. I do want to talk a little bit specifically about your career. I know that you first got called up to play with the U.S. Women's National Team when you were still in college at Santa Clara. You were on the national team with some of all of our heroes, playing with players like Mia Hamm. This was like around 2003 into 2004. But by the time you graduated from college, the only professional league in the country, the WUSA, had folded. And there were 4 years between the end of the WUSA and the beginning of the next professional league, the WPS. And so, Leslie, you're playing for the national team during that time with no professional domestic league to play in. What was that like for you? And could you kind of tell something was missing in your kind of preparedness or just your career overall?
So when I got called in 2003 and I got my first cap, and from 2003 to 2004, I went to Olympic residency. I took off a year in college. I lived in LA. I was playing alongside and against my childhood heroes. Talk about a crazy experience, missing 2 quarters of school. I ended up getting cut. Me and Lori Kolepny got cut, and Lindsay Tarpley and Heather Riley made it. So I had to go back to college. The league had just folded. I was like, A, I had no confidence. B, I was like, do I even love soccer at this point? That was a difficult time. And then C, there didn't feel like a pathway anymore with the league folding.
Right.
And so it was a really critical time. And I look back and I feel very fortunate that I was in that Olympic team and women's national team pool, because if I wasn't in that, I don't know, would I've gone overseas? Would I've gone to play, for the Sacramento Storm? Would I've gotten a job? I have no idea. And so to have, the U.S. Women's National Team there, to go live in LA and continue to play for them, I remember feeling like very fortunate at the time because some of my college teammates quit. I mean, they never touched a ball again. And so I look at now, fast forward, and I'm like, gosh, how cool for these Santa Clara athletes, Stanford athletes, and Cal athletes here to have Bay FC like in their hometown and playing college soccer, knowing that we have a stable and growing and, a league, and we have a team here. Like, it is so different from what I experienced with the Cyber Rays folding. And so I look back at that time and, I'm very fortunate, but I also remember feeling like, what am I going to do if I don't play for the U.S. Women's National Team again? And fortunately, I stayed on that team for the World Cup and then 2008 Olympics, and then having an opportunity to start with the WPS. But that was a very interesting landscape. And when you talk to like Lori Lindsay and hearing her go back, I think she was working a job at like a bagel or Auntie Anne's pretzels.
Oh my
she
God.
was literally trying to play semi-pro soccer and getting a job at Auntie Anne's to try to make it so she could get called in with U.S. Women's National Team or get that next opportunity. So this landscape is 1,000 times better and different. And I'm so grateful for that.
I know. It gives so much perspective to the amount of opportunities that exist now. Not only do we have the NWSL here, there's also the USL Super League. And to think about all this generation of college players, and even younger than that, knowing they can go to college, they can try to play in the NWSL, they can try to play in the USL, and there's so many more opportunities overseas. And I think that this kind of history and just this sharing of the perspective of what it was like for the best players in the country, the players on the national team, just 15, 20 years ago, the limited opportunities, it's so eye-opening. And I hope important to the players who are coming up and having these opportunities now to just recognize and realize that it's a lot better now. And there's just so many more opportunities.
Absolutely. And so many different like types of pathways too. Like
totally.
I remember, Shannon Box not getting, recognized with U.S. Women's National Team till her WUSA days, right? And she was older at that point. And now you can go all these different routes and there's not one route you have to take. And I think that's the beauty of it is you can get exposed at any time. You have so many different entry points, and everyone's careers have looked a little bit differently. Like even my oldest daughter, Olivia, tells people she's not going to college. She's just going to go to academy and pro. And we're like, but she,
I love that.
I know, but this is what she hears and she sees. And, she knows that there's so many different opportunities now. And it's so, so exciting, even to see some, college players that might not go to the NWSL, but now with the USL and going to it's just, you keep playing. And that's why
Yeah.
creating these leagues and opportunities, like if you can see it, you can be it now. And it's such an exciting time.
Exactly. And I think the different pathways is exactly the point. That was such a perfect thing to bring up. In 2009, the WPS kicked off. You signed with FC Gold Pride. That was based in San Francisco, so close to where you went to college. The next season, I know you went to the Boston Breakers. It was really early in the WPS's life, and a lot of the teams were already struggling. And Leslie, I know that you actually stepped up and like personally took it upon yourself to try to help find investors and support for the Breakers when you were playing in Boston. I'm curious what made you take on that role and take on that kind of pressure. How did you pitch yourself and your teammates to these investors?
You really do your homework, or you only know this because of your Boston ties and your East Coast ties. I think a few things, Sam. When I went to the Breakers, one of our owners was Dan Nover, a venture capitalist, and I got exposed to venture capital. I got exposed to the investing world. I started to take this opportunity after 2008 when I got hurt and didn't know if I'd ever play again. When I tore my ACL and tore my ankle, I took this on to say, okay, if I could never play soccer again, what else am I going to do? What else am I passionate about? And I think I saw an opportunity there. It's who I am, but also like, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone here. I have no business being in some of the rooms I'm in, pitching and pretty much selling the Boston Breakers and fundraising. But the president at the time of the Boston Breakers believed in me. I was the captain of the team. I was so passionate about it and so determined to keep a opportunity and pathway for players to play in that it felt like the only option. And I look back and I vividly remember being like, I'm so nervous. I should not be in this room. And all I did was I sold the dream. I sold the realities of what a women's professional soccer player was. I showed them the opportunity at hand. If you gave $200,000, this is what it can do. And it was a pretty cool, I think, moment for me to kind of step up in a different role and get out of my comfort zone. And I think that opportunity helped me and my trajectory. When I went on to start my own company, when I started Bay FC with my co-founders and having to fundraise and having to sit in front of rooms of venture capitalists, angel investors, and selling and pitching, that was such an opportunity that I had no business doing. But because people believed in me and because I had the passion and drive, the Boston Breakers stayed alive. That time for me will always be special for me. And I think a big opportunity to teach players to take on, to say yes to things like that, you know?
I feel like in your career, this is one of the first examples of you, and I'm speaking for you right now, but you realizing that you were more than just a player and you kind of took this opportunity to say, I belong in rooms off the field as well. I'm going to go into this boardroom and I'm going to try to sell the team. And I feel like throughout your career, Leslie, you've kind of, and I'm going to use the name of your podcast now, redefined yourself so many times, reinvented what you were capable of, who you were, what you were trying to do. And for someone like me who retired due to injury and kind of immediately had to reinvent what I was doing, I have been so inspired by learning more about your story and all of the ways in which you not only helped push women's soccer forward, but you as an individual were able to be this one thing and then turn into something else and then turn into something else and kind of take all of your experiences with you. I know that despite truly your best efforts, the WPS also folded in 2012, but the very next year, now we have the NWSL, the league that we're all talking about now. I think for you, Leslie, knowing what had happened with the WSA and the WPS, knowing that this was kind of, a year by year thing, what did you see in the NWSL that gave you confidence that this time this league could make it? What was different?
Well, I think US Soccer, having the partnership with US Soccer and giving that foundation was necessary. And I think that gave the stability that we all needed to have. When that partnership ended, right, to see the league still have that infrastructure and that opportunity after the 2015 World Cup, after the 2019 World Cup, we've had so many momentum moments. But for our league to be able to capitalize and continue to gain that momentum was super important. When we realized, okay, we've had two leagues previously. We've learned where there's so many learning lessons from both of those, right? when the Bay thought about bringing a team here, we thought about, okay, what didn't happen before? But I think that the thing that was the most important was that stability and infrastructure of the NWSL. Now, we've gone through a lot of tough times, dark times. I mean, in 2022, that was a turning point for our league and a pivotal moment for our league, right? But I think that the opportunity that we have as a league and these new franchises coming in to continuing to raise the level and the standard, the amount of resources, the amount of capital, the amount of new owners that come in that bring their experience, their influence, like it's continuing to grow with tons of momentum. And I'm so proud. I played in the first year of the NWSL in 2013 with the Stars. And I was back in Chicago 10 years later last weekend. And I was like, wow, we've grown so much. But Sam, I'm sure you see it too. Like we still have a ton to go. And I think that's the opportunity that we have at hand. But also now with the competition around the world, I mean, it's going to, I think, continue for us to elevate our league. And how are we going to gain top talent from all over the world? How are we going to figure out salary cap issues? How are we going to continue to have global stars want to come to the NWSL, right? But at least the infrastructure, the business models of a lot of these new teams, especially coming, and what Kansas City is doing. I mean, it's continuing to raise that bar and prove that level of excellence over and over. And it's a really exciting time, especially with Denver and Boston coming in 2026.
It is such an exciting time. And I do want to get into your role with Bay FC. You retired in 2014. You went through that difficult transition every athlete faces at some point. And obviously you had built these skills. We talked about you kind of being in boardrooms, selling the Boston Breakers. I know you started your own beauty line. How did you wrap your head around the idea of going from player to entrepreneur to eventual co-founder of an NWSL club? What were kind of those first conversations that you started having, realizing that you could be the co-founder of a team?
I think, Sam, what happened to me in 2008, when I made the Olympic team and a couple of days later tore my ACL and tore my ankle, and when 4 out of the 5 doctors told me I would never play pro soccer again, and I ended up having the surgeries and knew that my road back might not ever be on a soccer field again. It forced me to figure out what else I was passionate about, what else would wake me up the way that soccer has woken me up. What did I want to do? I now had time. And I felt like up until that point with US Women's National Team and playing professionally, it was almost hard to get my hand into other things because it looked like I wasn't fully bought in, right? Mm-hmm. And at that time, I thought I was so busy. And don't get me wrong, soccer players are busy, but we also we have time, right? It's what you do at that time. And so I think during that 18 months where I did not touch a ball, I didn't know if I'd play again, I looked at this opportunity to say, okay, when I come back to that field, and hopefully I do, I now can be a soccer player, but I also can be a sports broadcaster. I can get into maybe going to business school. I'm going to work with nonprofits. And so when I came back in 2009 to play, I already was ahead of my teammates because I knew the opportunities I had when I would retire. And so fast forward 5 years later, when I still got to play for the Chicago Red Stars, the Boston Breakers, I was starting a company on the side with my teammates. I was doing sports broadcasting and getting, experiences on camera. And by the time I retired, I had opportunities to go be an athletic director at Santa Clara University. I was a co-founder of a business company because I knew how to fundraise because of my experiences at Boston Breakers. And I was doing broadcasting for Fox Sports. So that's why I think I'm very passionate about helping athletes with that identity shift. And Sam, I know you went through it because as an athlete, you don't prepare. You don't know when an injury is going to happen. You don't know when it's over. And so all of those experiences led me to co-founding Bay FC. In 2020, during COVID, when Angel City announced their ownership group, I remember calling Julie Foudy and being like, what? Oh my God, I didn't know you were doing this. Like, how incredible. I want to be part of something like that. I want to be an owner. I want to bring a team. And she said to me, then why don't you do that in the Bay? And so I called Allie Wagner, Danielle Slayton, Brandy Chastain. We had multiple conversations, and that was kind of what spearheaded that almost 4-year effort of bringing a team here to Bay FC. And, us four being former teammates at Santa Clara University, us being teammates on the USWNT national team, having that deep local roots here to the Bay Area, having connections, we kind of came together and we, for almost 4 years, fundraised. We went and sold our vision, and we ended up finding Sixth Street Capital, our majority investor, who ended up obviously paying the $53 million for Bay FC to get that expansion bid. But back to your original question, I think the work that I put in as an athlete when I was injured and getting my foot in the door, saying yes to experiences that I probably had no business being in, it prepared me for those moments as a co-founder, having to raise $12 million before finding Sixth Street Capital, having to go out in the Bay Area, finding sponsors, finding, people that would believe in this dream that we had for Bay FC. And so all of those experiences prepared me for that moment. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, Sam, there were times where us four looked at each other like, we have no business doing this. But as an athlete, you are determined. You find a way, right? Like you just do. And looking back at it, like, yeah, it was crazy town and it was hard and it was a long journey, but like, that's what we do.
Yeah. I also think I find it so fascinating to hear, like, it's you four former players, and to that feeling of we have no business doing this. It's like, you are the only people who have business doing this. I think all of the NWSL teams, all the best teams we're all saying that being player led is the best way to operate a club. You guys are literally player led. And I think that having your experiences, your expertise, and just not just your names, but the weight that comes with your names as part of the club is so, so powerful. And I think I'm curious for you to hear the term player led. Yeah. Obviously, it means putting the players first, but how specifically does Bay FC try to operate that, knowing how unique of a club you are, led by the people you're led by?
Yeah, well, thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. I think when I say that, like, we needed to make sure that we had the right business people in mind and part of our team, right? Because I think that's what had lacked in the WPS and the WUSA days. Like, we are a full business. Like, we need to operate as a business. Like, and so I think that's where the Sixth Street came in and these majority main investors and, the business side came in. And I think that's what makes our relationship partnership so unique is us four have that soccer IQ experience. Our vision for this club was always like, every decision we make for Bay FC has to be around the players in everything that we do. And so it can be little things like how our training facility was built out, and we're building one in Treasure Island, and we actually break ground soon here, and talking about, okay, for the future moms, for the young, younger players, we're going to have everything that we do. Last month, we had an amazing event for all of our current Bay FC players at Sixth Street offices. We talked to our players about what else are you interested outside of soccer? And we brought in people from so many different sectors, commercial real estate, the medical world, the fashion world. And our players got to go around this amazing room with so many amazing contacts and talk to people that they're interested in. And you could see our players, they were so shy at first. And then, they started to gain confidence and excitement. And like, they walked out of that session being like, oh my God, I have emails and contact info for people that that want to help me. Everything we're trying to do at Bay is, yes, help them be a better player and everything they do on the field. But a big piece to what us four are passionate about is helping expose our players to opportunities here in the Bay Area. Our ecosystem here is different than any other market in the league. We have so many tech companies here. We have so many opportunities to connect with founders of companies, and the exposure that these players have to get internships and figure out what else they're interested in outside of soccer. And we want to lean into that, and we want to help prepare players for where they go next. And I hope that their days at Bay FC were those days where, Bay FC is the one that motivated me or inspired me or gave me the tools and opportunities. And so everything we do at Bay, from our player care for off the field, on the field, even having the players over to our houses for founders barbecues and helping them, with, etiquette, like, these are things, financial literacy, that, not every player in our league knows. And we want to be able to be as helpful as possible to help them be as successful on and off the field.
What an incredible environment. I'm honestly like, now I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I had played at a club that valued this stuff. I know that, and I've talked about this a lot on this podcast. I started podcasting 3 or 4 years before I retired. And when I was looking at a world that did not have me playing soccer in it, the only other thing I knew I could do was do a podcast. And this opportunity coming up in the immediate wake of me retiring from injury was because I had invested in myself while I was still playing. And so to hear that Bay FC is helping players not just make connections, but figure out what they're even interested in when you're a player. You're told so much, soccer, soccer, soccer. That's the only thing. That's your priority. It's the only thing you should focus on. So much so that even in school, we're kind of like, well, school comes second. So to hear that you all are valuing that in your players, I've also always said that I think having something off the field that you're passionate about brings more joy to your soccer, and it actually helps you focus more. Do you agree with that?
1000%. I actually, oh my gosh. I think the more I focused on soccer and watch film and everything I do soccer, I like overanalyze myself. And I think I lost some joy of it. And when I don't know if you felt like this too in college, but the busier I was with school and social life, the better I played. And so
Totally.
I think for so long, athletes have been told or like 100%, 100%. And like, that is not the recipe for everyone. And having these players take advantage of being a current professional athlete, having a resume on your LinkedIn, like current pro player, like that platform that you have as a professional athlete. And so many people want to help. So say yes to those people. Like, yes, I am interested in maybe coming to your office once a week. Yes, I'm interested in getting my, feet wet into, job shadowing you as a nurse, whatever that may be. You have to make the time and you have to be willing to put self-care and to prep for what's to come next. Otherwise, you're going to go through a really dark time like we talked about a lot of athletes going through.
I totally agree with that. I know that Bay FC, you guys had a great first season. You made it to playoffs in your very first year. As we speak right now, Bay FC is very much fighting for their chance to return to the playoffs. A ton of big games left this season, including one this weekend at Oracle Park, the iconic baseball stadium in San Francisco, home of the Giants. What does it mean to the club to have this game at this special venue? Like, what are the goals of an event like this?
Yeah, it's super special. The 23rd, which is Saturday, which is crazy.
I know.
It's monumental for a lot of reasons. First, it's the first professional women's soccer match at Oracle. Second, we have an opportunity to sell out and hit the highest attendance level in the NWSL. So we've already
Oh my God.
I know, we already sold 30,000 tickets. So if we hit 35, we will hit that match. Of course, we want to sell it out. So for everyone out there who does not have tickets, you can still get tickets. I mean, we would love to sell out at 40,000 people, but I think it's an opportunity that, we as a club, we've always wanted to kind of push the boundaries, push the limits, be innovative. Last year, we had Barcelona come and play at PayPal, which was such a special treat for everyone to see and experience. But I think playing at Oracle, what a historic, ballpark. It gives us an opportunity to play closer to the city, and it's going to attract a lot of people that are in Oakland, the city, and continue to grow our fan base. And it's also going to be such a cool experience. I mean, our swag is going to be amazing. There's going to be so many people experiencing Bay FC for the first time. And I think that it was really important for our club and players to know that this is going to be a safe field to play in, and that the PA did everything that they needed to do to make sure that every player felt comfortable and confident, embarking in this new opportunity. So I'm proud of the organization. I'm so excited to attend with the family. I know a ton of people that are coming up for the game. And again, I think it's something that our club just is going to celebrate, hopefully another milestone, especially just being in our second year.
I know. It feels like you guys have accomplished so much in such a short time. And there's another huge game coming to the Bay Area this November. You'll be hosting the NWSL Championship. What do you think this says about your stadium, the fans, and the environment that your club is creating? And what kind of party are you guys planning to have the whole NWSL coming to you?
Oh yeah, just wait. We're so excited. PayPal is a special place. And for everyone that has not been to a game, to watch Bay FC at PayPal It's an amazing atmosphere, 18,000 people. It will be packed. The love and commitment that we have for women's football here is top notch. Every time the US has come into town, we sell out. Bay FC continues. We are in top 5 attendance last year in the NWSL. We have such a special atmosphere and market here in the Bay Area. A special shout out to all of our Bay FC season ticket holders and all of our fans that are probably going to go to the final too, to be there, to watch. I mean, the coolest part about PayPal and our games is like the experience. Like, yes, it's great product and great football on the field, but everything around it is just, it's hard to describe the experience that you have. And that's why you have to come experience it yourself. I think the Bay FC is going to have a big presence. Hopefully we're playing in the final, but if we're not, we're going to have a lot of activations. We're going to do a lot of hopefully live podcasts, a lot of events. I mean, are you doing a live show, Men in Blazers? Are you coming? What's going on?
I can say with a lot of confidence the women's game will have a presence at Championship Weekend. I'm so excited to come to the Bay Area and support you all to see what it's like. I'm really, really excited. We'll have some more announcements coming very soon. Leslie, speaking of podcasts, this is my last question for you. I know that you host the podcast Redefined by Front Office Sports. And on the show, you talk a lot about reinventing yourself. We've touched on this so many times throughout this interview. You're kind of a master of taking a risk, being the change you want to see in your life and in the world. And I think that your success is such an incredible example for anybody out there thinking about taking a leap or betting on themselves or reinventing what it is that they do, whether it's in sports, their career, their relationships. So Leslie, what advice do you have for somebody thinking about taking a risk and reinventing or redefining themselves?
Just say yes. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to learn and grow from the experience. And that's where you're going to see that real growth, that real opportunity. And I think being a professional athlete, you have the skill set that so many people don't have, and that's your superpower. And always lean into that. Always understand why you are in a room, why you are on a team. Like, you have superpowers that other people do not have. And to be able to really lean into that. The second part would just say, believe in yourself. I think if you don't have the belief and the inner confidence, that's where I think you'll see the most opportunity. But I just say yes. Say yes. Like, so many of us would not be where we're at if we just didn't say yes. And then when you say yes, you either understand like, oh yes, I am passionate about that, or I do love to do that, or maybe you don't, but you never know unless you say yes.
Well, I am definitely taking that advice. I love that, Leslie. This was such an incredible interview. I'm so excited for Bay FC this weekend at Oracle Park and to come to the Bay Area for Championship Weekend. So thank you so much for doing this, and good luck to Bay FC. I hope to see you in the final.
Yes, I'll see you in the final. And Sam, congratulations on everything you've done. And you've made the most of what had happened to you. And I think you are another perfect example of being redefined, and there couldn't be a better role model for it. So congratulations to you, and cannot wait to see you.
Thank you, Leslie. Maybe I can come on your podcast next.
Yeah, let's go. You were going to maybe come in Austin, but you never came to Austin. So
I know.
In November.
Okay. Yes, let's do it. That sounds perfect. Thank you all so much for listening. I am really looking forward to watching Bay's game at Oracle Park this weekend, and for the possibility of the women's game being at NWSL Championship Weekend. More to come on that soon, I promise. Before we let you go, we've got this new segment. It's our linked up voicemail of the week presented by Verizon. Each week, we want to hear from you. So call and leave us a voicemail at 855-611-4050, and you may be featured on a future episode of Friendlies. This week's caller is Christy from Chicago.
Hi, Sam. This is Christy from Chicago. As a Chicago fan, my question is, how do you think all the different coaching changes can affect players on a team like Chicago this season? I think they've had a couple coaching changes, a couple different interim head coaches, and now they just hired a new head coach. So I'm curious how you see that affects the players or affects the dynamic of the team. Let me know. Thank you. Bye.
Christy, thank you so much for calling in with this question. It's a really good one. I do think that Chicago's inconsistency with the coaching staff has been disruptive to the players. Becky was actually just telling us on an episode of Good Vibes that it can take up to 8 games for a team to fully adjust to a new coach. And after Lauren Donaldson was fired earlier this year in April, Chicago have seen brief interim stints with Masaki Hemi and Ella Masser before they just officially hired Martin Sjogren for next season and assigning Anders Jakobsen, Martin's longtime assistant from current club Hammarby in Sweden, as interim. If that sounded like a mouthful, it was. There has been so much change, and that's so much adjusting for the players, which can be really difficult. I think players enter into a season or contract thinking that you understand what you're getting yourself into, what your coach's philosophy is, what role they see you playing for the team. And with so much change in leadership, it's possible that some of these players are in a completely different situation than what they feel like they agreed to. To an extent, that is professional sports, but unfortunately, I think it's clear from Chicago's place in the table that it's not going as well as the club or the players would hope. Hopefully, this new hire is a long-term one, and hopefully Chicago can just keep Alyssa Nair playing forever because they need her out there scoring goals. Thank you again for calling in, Christy. That was our linked up voicemail of the week presented by Verizon. If you want to join us for this segment, the banana phone is open. Give me a call at 855-611-4050. Leave a message, ask me a question, and you could be the next featured listener thanks to our friends at Verizon. Next week's guest on the show is Angel City's newest star, Svendis Johnsdottir. Svendis was so sweet to talk to. She's been so impressive in the league so far. And yes, it is her who has the unbelievable long throw-in that I really hope helps Angel City get some wins soon. So make sure you tune in next Thursday to hear this interview with Svendis. Thank you all so much for being here, and we'll see you soon.